Sup? I'm Jared. I'm 28 and I don't mean to brag, but I'm super successful and rich. I could literally date any girl I want. But this is not your typical rags to riches story, at least on my side. I ended up falling in love with a beautiful girl, but found out she was a gold digger. Not only that, she was hiding a big secret and I exposed her. I think she got what she deserved, but you can be the judge of that. You see, I grew up pretty well off. My parents had a decent amount of money and we lived pretty comfortably. My parents had a pretty successful company selling computers back when personal computers were all the rage. They were pretty busy with work, so they didn't really have a lot of time to keep an eye on me, but they were loving and kind. School life was a bit different. Even though my family was wealthy, I still got made fun of a lot. I was sort of small and scrawny and not very tall. I definitely was not the most attractive guy, and I guess you could call me a nerd. I didn't have a lot of friends in high school, but I didn't care. Most of my time was spent tinkering around with computers and solving math problems. That studying paid off because I went to a top college, and right after I graduated, I started my own company. I developed a new social app and spent days and nights working on it. I eventually became a very successful CEO and made a ton of money after my company went public. I was in magazines, on TV, and got invited to all kinds of exclusive events with celebrities and other rich people. One night, I got invited to an exclusive charity event. Even though it was technically for charity, it was better known as a matchmaking event where some of the most eligible singles could come together to socialize and meet their future significant others. I was a bit nervous going by myself, but I wore my best tux and was ready to mingle. The ballroom was really decked out. There were all kinds of delicious fancy foods everywhere, dancers with really cool costumes, and even a champagne fountain. I ended up chatting with a few girls, but nobody really caught my eye. Either they weren't into me or I wasn't into them. I was about to go home until I met Megan. Megan was gorgeous. She was sexy but classy at the same time. She had long blonde hair and hazel eyes. I knew I had to talk to her. I approached her and said, "Hey, I'm Jared, and I just have to say you are gorgeous." She introduced herself and asked me what I did for a living. I told her I was the CEO of Lemon Chat. Immediately, her eyes widened and she became much more flirty. I asked her what she did for a living, and she looked at me and said, "My family owns Kafko Foods." She was Megan Kafko, the heiress to the Kafko fortune. Oh man, not only was she gorgeous, but she was also rich. We would be the ultimate power couple. We chatted more and had a great time together, and the next thing you know, we're boyfriend and girlfriend. Things in the beginning were great. She was so funny and witty. Oh, and not to mention, great in bed. But as time went on, the fun times weren't as fun anymore. We spent less time talking to each other and more time shopping at the mall. I would buy her anything she wanted: designer bags, shoes, makeup, clothes, whatever she wanted, she got. It was starting to get exhausting after a while, but I didn't bring it up because, she was so much hotter than me and I would never be able to land a girl like this ever. Plus, she was rich. She probably was looking for a suitable partner that could match her wealth. I was so blinded by her beauty that I ignored the stuff that annoyed me and ended up proposing to her a while later. While we were engaged, some red flags popped up. I never met any of her friends or family, but I brushed that off since maybe her family was so wealthy and famous that you couldn't just meet them whenever you felt like it. I also began to realize she didn't actually have any girlfriends, only male friends, other guys who came from wealthy backgrounds. It made me feel kind of insecure, but I didn't want to seem like a jealous boyfriend. One day, though, something really weird happened. She asked to borrow $100,000 from me. Okay, I'm used to buying bags and things, But $100,000 was still a lot of money, and it was weird because she needed it immediately and wouldn't tell me what it was for. I agreed to give it to her. I mean, she was going to be my future wife, but I was still a bit suspicious of her. After I proposed, I realized we spent less and less time together, and she spent more time hanging out with her friends. We talked less, and that spark seemed to be disappearing. One day, I decided to go through her phone to get to the bottom of things, and you wouldn't believe the shocking secrets. That's right, multiple secrets that I found out. As I was looking through her texts from her supposed friends, it turns out that she was cheating on me. It was with one of her guy friends, and the shocking part was that this guy was much older and he even had his own family. He was pretty rich, and I saw photos of them together in Hawaii, Bali, and other romantic getaways. There wasn't just one of these guys, there were several, and she was asking them all for money, trips, bags, cars, and sometimes even houses. The more I went through her phone and the more I dug up, the more I realized she definitely wasn't who she claimed she was. Turns out her family is poor. I mean, really poor. Her dad died when she was young, and her mom made money the only way she knew how. Her mom remarried about 5 or 6 times to various older rich men and forced her daughter to do the same. I couldn't believe this mom and daughter pair were running a whole scam. I was so angry. I can't believe I trusted her. I wanted to confront her immediately, but I knew someone like her didn't even care about me. She never did. There was only one way to teach her a lesson: expose her in a public setting. That's right. You guessed it. The wedding. The next couple of months, I pretended everything was fine. She was so busy with wedding preparation that she didn't even notice my bad mood towards her. She wanted the fanciest wedding and wanted to invite all the most elite celebrities, friends, and contacts. She invited over 500 people to the wedding, including her mom and her sugar daddies. The more public, the better. We went through the motions until the wedding day approached. I was all ready for my speech that was going to expose her. On the morning of our wedding day, I got everything ready. This was going to be the surprise of her life. The time came. I walked down the aisle with a grin on my face, and after a while, she came down. She still looked gorgeous, but I reminded myself of who she really was. I looked at her cold eyes, those eyes I used to love, the funny, witty ones, and I was certain she felt no remorse or guilt. When it came time to read our vows, I went first. I looked at Megan and said, "Megan, I wish you were the girl I fell in love with when we first met, but sadly, you are not." She looked confused, and the audience gasped. Behind us, I had a projector showing all of her cheating texts and photos with other men. I then continued to expose the rest of her bad deeds: the cheating, lying, borrowing money from me, and never paying me back. Heck, I even exposed the gross slimeball who was cheating on his family with Megan. His wife looked at him and slapped him across the face. And then it all started. The whole crowd went wild. There were screams, looks of horror, gasps. Seemed like I exposed more than one secret today. Everyone was going crazy, punching each other, taking photos and videos, calling Megan a gold digger. She looked horrified and ran off crying. The whole wedding was a chaotic mess, but it was worth it to me. Obviously, I never heard from Megan after that. Seems like we both burned that bridge forever, and with everyone there that day. I guess I'll have to look for more than just looks in my next partner and be sure to do a thorough background check.